two teams displayed great resolve, fighting spirit, and indomitable will. Now, the two emerged from the pack, ready to clash in a titanic showdown for the ultimate prize.
Long puts up a long three. Oh, oh, oh! Jai Reyes starts to get hot. Anyada stripped. Salamat. Easy basket for him. Back to that points. Few seconds. Wow, Al Husseini off the dish.
Number one thing is it gives the three seniors a chance to win another championship, which was one of our motivations at the beginning of the year, to try to win it again for our veterans, for our seniors. Every time you coach a group of guys, particularly a group of guys who believe in what you're trying to execute, and they go out and really make sure that they execute it for you, your game plan, your strategies, then of course you want to win for them. So this for me is all about the players. Being back in the finals, giving them another chance, particularly Jai, Rabbi, and Noy, to win a championship before they leave.
Now, back to Rudy, space to shoot. Gets it to go! Wow, the man is on fire! And Yui takes the driver's seat!
I think yung more than talent. How can you say di talented yung 8 team na dinaanan namin to get here? Wala nang momentum. Ateneo is on an 11-game winning streak. Kami 8. So I told the boys, nung mag-usap kami, sabi ko, Ateneo needs to win 13 in a row to win the championship. Tayo 10 lang. Kalaban namin, defending champions against our team na has not won in the last 2 decades. Diba? So talagang underdog talaga. Dasal, maniwala, sama-sama lang kami.
The stakes are higher, the struggles are harder, the challenges are tougher, but the reward is immeasurable.
Ateneo has done what champion teams do. Win the big games, win the close games, win the grinded out defensive games, and even blowing out a couple of teams in the process. Except for a hiccup against an inspired UP team, they've been almost unbeatable. They've done everything they could to put themselves in a position to defend their title. Yui, on the other hand, has once again proven the sports cliche, it's not how you start, but how you finish the season. And boy, did they finish strong. They've done everything they could to put themselves in a position to end a 24-year title drought. Ladies and gentlemen, a shot at history versus a shot at redemption. A team trying to defend a title against a team trying to erase the bitter memory of the year 2007. It is not the battle of David versus Goliath, but yet it is the battle of bulk versus bravado. Game 1 of the finals of Season 72 of the UAAP here on Studio 23. We are live and it is exclusive, and it is also available in high definition via Sky Cable Channel 166. It is good to have you with us again. Everybody here in the Araneta Coliseum, it's great to be back here in front of you. For ABS-CBN Sports, Boom Gonzalez, DJ Manotoc. TJ, intriguing matchup between these two teams, not only from a team standpoint, but even the individual matchups are going to be very juicy.
Absolutely. You know these two teams have so much characteristics going deep down into their bench. There's so much history also with those respective players wanting to win championships. You've got guys like Jai Reyes and Ateneo, on a personal note, wanting to win back-to-back, just like his Tito Jun Reyes back in the 80s. You've got guys like Parillagas and Paul Lee, who have had the heartbreak stories in the past years of UE. So different scenarios, different things that motivate them, but it's going to boil down to for their schools and the hunger. The hungrier team will take home the title for sure.
All right, let's look at some numbers and check out, let's check out the two previous
Right.
meetings first before these two teams got into the finals. Unfortunately for the UE Red Warriors, this was the only team that they were not able to beat in Season 72. And the other common denominator is Raba Al Husseini. Although Val Acuña did so well in game number 1 of these two teams, Raba and the rest of Ateneo came back and came back strong to sweep it under their feet.
That was in July 16, early in the first round, and Ateneo walloped UE in the final score, although UE did have the lead at the half, 37-35, thanks to, as you mentioned, the explosion of Val Acuña with 19 points actually in the first half, but then after that, he pretty much disappeared. It was Raba Al Husseini who picked up the cudgels for Ateneo, scoring 27 points, adding 11 rebounds, and add to that, he was 12 out of 21 from the field, 3 assists, 1 block, and dig this, 0 turnovers.
Wow.
For a guy with that many touches, that many attempts, with no turnovers and 3 assists, that means you took care of that ball.
Yeah.
You were not careless in throwing it out and you know, making sure that every time you touch the ball, either you scored or you had a good pass or you had a good kick out. So pretty much almost a perfect game for Raba in their first encounter.
And the team as a whole really showed a lot of character coming back from a 17-point deficit to win that one. We fast forward to around August 13 right here at the Araneta Coliseum. That one, UE tried to turn the tables around Ateneo. They tried to come back. Paul Lee was doing so well in that game. He scored 20 points, but unfortunately, again, without Patty Llagas, they even had more problems against the big man who stood tall and stood proud, the reigning MVP.
That was the first game for UE in the second round, and it was the game wherein they had to miss Patty Llagas due to a suspension.
Yes.
And he was the main guy who would really do his best to try to hold down Raba Al Husseini. Without him, that's what happened. 30 points, 12 rebounds, even better field goal shooting. 12 out of 19 was his field goal shooting. 2 assists, 2 blocks, but he did have 4 turnovers in that game, so you could put it that way that UE still tried to harass him a bit and made him lose the ball. But as you said, UE had their run in that game. Ateneo was up big in the first half, and UE showed their, their inspiration and their fire to make that run. After that loss, I guess they learned a thing or two, and they won 7 straight games going to the Final Four.
Just a footnote, TJ, and coming into the finals, this is going to be very important. Raba Al Husseini is averaging 28.5 games against the UE Red Warriors. Now let's check out some numbers between these two teams in the 2 games that they played in the elimination round as we check out our Corneto comparative stats. Select a Corneto tip to top sarap.
Well, because of that one big blowout game, obviously, the points for Ateneo will be so much bigger than UE. 76 points per game for Ateneo there, only 66 points per game for UE. Field goal shooting percentages are a major discrepancy, 44.5% and only 31.6 for UE. But the one thing going good for UE is if you look at their last 2 big games against FEU, they have shot 41.5% in the Final Four. Going to the rebounding statistic, also another big advantage for Ateneo, 49 to 41.5, although the offensive boards have gone the way of UE, but that's understandable because they miss more shots. They only shot 31% of their shots. But against FEU again, they upped their ante, 44.5 rebounds per ball game. Turnovers, you'll be amazed how UE actually, as open court as they like to play, as free-flowing as they are, they only have 15 turnovers a game in their 2 games against Ateneo, and in fact against FEU, they improved on that and only had 8.5 turnovers per game in those 2 games. That was an awesome stat for them.
In fact, they're actually the best in terms of keeping those turnover numbers low here in the league. It is UE versus Ateneo, and we are moments away from the official start of game number 1, but we'll take a break first and we'll be back to even break it down even further here on Studio 23. Welcome back to the Araneta Coliseum. The first team out from the dugouts, the Ateneo Blue Eagles, the defending champions, and the team armed with an 11-game winning streak, headed by, of course, the MVP, the reigning MVP, Raba Al Husseini, who's graduating together with that guy, Jai Reyes. And of course, Mr. Nonoy Baclao is included in that group. Again, welcome to our live and exclusive coverage over Studio 23. Boom Gonzalez, TJ Manotoc. And we mentioned earlier, top of the coverage, TJ, how a lot of personal, individual matchups are going to be very intriguing for these two teams.
Absolutely, especially if you look at the big men. That's one thing that comes to mind right away when we talk about Ateneo and UE. It's going to be really focused on the battle of the big men. Not to take anything away from the guards, which we'll discuss about later on. But these 4 guys will be really slugging it out inside on both ends of the floor. For Ateneo, you got the reigning MVP, Rafa Aluseni, averaging 16 points and 7 rebounds a ball game, but he has been averaging 28 points against UE on 60% shooting from the field and even up the rebounds to 11.5. I don't think he's played any better against anybody else this season.
I think so too.
The way he has played against UE, and that's a scary stat for them. Nonoy Baclao is his partner in crime there. 6.3 points per game, not too many points, but look at what he does on the other aspects on the floor. Almost 8 rebounds per game, almost 3 blocks per ball game, and you cannot count the times he intimidates, taps away passes, boxes out, defends well. That's what Baclao gives for you. If you're UE, you're banking on Parinagas and Elmer Espiritu. You know what they can do. You know their experience. You also know their hunger for a title. They've been disappointed too many times in their career. You saw the desire in their eyes in that FAU series. You saw them play awesome. Even with Acuna and Lee playing well, they still put in their points. And you know these two are going to go all out against Baclao and Aluseni.
Well, you mentioned how big those four will play. They're doing so well that all of them are top 5 in scoring, rebounding, and 2 of them, actually, Baclao and Espiritu, are tops in shot blocking also here in the league. Now, TJ did not want to overlook the guards as the UE Red Warriors have come on to the floor here at the Araneta Coliseum. They are armed with an 8-game winning streak themselves, and the guard matchup is going to be very tasty, especially the matchup between the 2 former teammates and former San Sebastian Stags, Paulie and Eric Salamat.
These 2 guys, we've seen them play against each other so many times already. You know that when they step on the floor, the friendship takes a back seat and they are in each other's mugs all game long with the trash talking and the taunting, but nonetheless, it really fuels them to play even better than they can when they see each other. We're talking about Eric Salamat, of course, going up against Paul Lee. And for Ateneo first, you got Eric Salamat and Jai Reyes at their main backcourt tandem, averaging almost 12 points a game. This Eric Salamat, 3 assists a ball game, 2.3 steals, the best in the league. But more than that, Eric puts in his points when they need it the most. When they need runs, he gets steals, he gets easy layups. When they need crucial shots, he's there ready to take them, pretty much like what Chris Chu was doing for them in the years past. Jai Reyes, as he is known as Dynamite for the Blue Eagles, also has a knack of taking big shots. There are times he can start slow, but he does heat up. He's taking good control of the ball for Ateneo. That's his first priority of being very under control as a point guard. But you know he can drain it from beyond the arc. 33% from 3-point field goal territory. He can hit those big shots likewise. For UE, you know what Paulie did against FAU. You know he was on fire, and it's pretty much like he was from a different planet with the way he scored. He took the games over, and can he do that today? Can he perform the same way? And can Rudy Linganay back him up as ably as he did in that FAU series with the same consistency? That has been the keyword challenge to Paul Lee throughout this season. Can Paul Lee be consistent? He has been in their winning streak. Can he bring that here into the finals?
Both Rudy Linganay and Jai Reyes, the point guards of these 2 teams, are graduating. They're playing out their final year here in the UAAP. TJ, quick question. How important? We already talked about the big players, the major players, the starters even. How important will be the bench for these 2 teams as we put the spotlight on those who come off the bench?
Well, this is a huge advantage for Ateneo. You know they're the deeper team in terms of experience and also in terms of talent. And we've seen it with the amount of points they put on the board. We've seen it when their star players, their starting 5s don't perform well. All of a sudden, someone from the bench can come up and step up and play a great game and pull out the win for Ateneo. And that's how big the bench of Ateneo has been. For UE, just the same. It's their bench that has been a little bit inconsistent also in the first round. When they became consistent, when they were finding themselves in better control, that's when they racked up the wins in the second round. For Ateneo, you're looking at Nico Salva and Ryan Buenafe. Both guys coming off the bench, although at times, Nico Salva has also started in the ball games for Coach Norman Black. Pretty much similar numbers, 7 points a ball game for these 2 guys and almost 4 rebounds a game. The key, I think, for both these guys, the points will be there. They're going to have the looks. Can they play the defense that is required of them against their counterparts, Val Acuna, who we know can light up the board anytime if he gets hot. He can shoot in anybody's face. He can shoot from ridiculous range. And Paul Zamar, he can drive down the lane. He can really open up the game for UE in their open court style. And those are the factors, those are the things that they're going to be bringing on the floor for the Red Warriors in this series.
Val Acuna is the player there in that batch who is graduating, the former Rookie of the Year. Ryan Buenafe, also from the San Sebastian Stags. Ateneo versus UE. We talked about the players earlier. When me and TJ come back, we're going to talk about the teams, what they have to do to get game number 1 into their pocket. Stay with us, please, and we'll see you on the other side. We are back with you here at the Araneta Coliseum. Game 1 of the finals is moments away. Ateneo Blue Eagles hoping to defend their title and going up against Paul Lee and the rest of the UE Red Warriors, who are trying to erase the bitter memory of the year 2007 when they won every single game in the elimination round and then got swept by LaSalle in the finals. So 2 times in 3 years they've been in the finals. That's always a good thing for the UE Red Warriors. And speaking of the Red Warriors, TJ, what do they have to do to upend Ateneo here in game number 1?
Well, it's not an easy thing if you're going to look at purely the stats between Ateneo and UE when they played twice this season so far, because that was a long time ago. It was way before this big 8-game winning streak of UE.
That's their last loss.
They're
huh?
a different team. I'd say they're pretty much a different team since then. So the keys to winning I saw some glimpses of how they did well against FEU. I'm putting it down also against Ateneo. First up, full court press and then zoning it up. Attack the middle on your offense. And then lastly, you gotta crash the boards on both ends. First up, full court press and zoning up. We saw this against FEU. It worked for them. Why? Because they weren't zoning they weren't pressing like the way they used to back in Dito Pumaran's days.
Yes.
And getting the steals and getting those layups. But what their press did, it delayed the offense of FEU. They would end up with less time to operate, less time to swing that ball around, and that's when they went down to their zone. That's one thing they can and I think should do against Ateneo. It's a team who likes to space it out. They like to move the ball around. They like to be patient. But if you're going to give them less time to operate offensively, it's going to give them a harder time to find a good shot. Attack in the middle. When they went sour in terms of their outside shooting, talking about Paul Lee and Balacuña, there were times they were sour, believe us. They went straight to the hoop.
Yes.
They went to the rack. They took it with reckless abandon, barging inside into bigger guys of FEU like Aldrich Ramos, people who want to, no matter what your size was, they went in there and they attacked with no fear whatsoever. Why is that good? Because that's what will give you the looks for Parillagas and Elmer Espiritu. When Acuña and Lee and Ligane can drive, they can also drive and drop. Lastly for them, they have to crash the boards. If you look at the stats against Ateneo, they have been totally out-rebounded. In one game, they were out-rebounded by 12 rebounds. That will not win you a ball game. That will not win you a title series if you're going to allow Ateneo to out-rebound you by a double-digit margin. They're not one of the best rebounding teams in the league, and they're going to have to make up for that. Parillagas, Elmer Espiritu, yes, they can rebound, but they need a lot of help. That's why, as a team, they have to crash the boards.
UE is number 5 only in the rebounding department. And just to add to what TJ mentioned earlier, they're also last in turnover points, something that they've ruled together with LaSalle in the last 2 or 3 years here in the league in past seasons. Ateneo, in the meantime, I mean, they are the number 1 defensive team. They're one of the best, well, actually the best shooting team. They're best in 2 points. They're best in 3-point shooting. What do they have to do, or what could they maintain coming into this finals, riding on that 11-game winning streak?
Exactly. You know, whenever I speak to Coach Roman, he always has a kind of a mindset. He doesn't say exactly, but if it ain't broken, don't fix it. You know, there's not much to really tweak if there are not that many problems. But first of all, looking at their flight plan here, first up, setting up the offense quickly, then stopping UE slashers up high and spacing it out and moving the ball. We'll get into this right now. Setting up the offense quickly means you're going to have to break that press. You're going to have to get into your front court with a lot of time with the shot clock so you can use it. You can space it out. You can move the ball around. You can find Raba early in the post, or you can find him when he swings the ball around on the repost. But for you to do that, you're going to need a lot of time on your shot clock. So they have to set up their offense quickly and attack quickly as possible. So if and when they get denied, if they get zoned up, they can have the patience to swing that ball around. Secondly, for Ateneo, they're going to have to stop UE slashers up high. Of course, they're going to take the outside shots. Sometimes they're going to take outside shots from 10 feet from beyond the arc, and they're going to surprise the hell out of you. You're going to have to give them that, but you should deny them those drives. You should deny the middle and stop them up high. If they're going to allow Paul Lee and Acuña to blow by the Ateneo guards and leave it up to Raba and Onoy Bacrao to defend, they're going to get the big men into foul trouble. So they got to stop them at the perimeter.
Yes.
The guards alone will have to collapse down and clog the lanes and not let them get in the paint. So that's the kind of perimeter defense Ateneo needs to play against you in the series. Lastly, going back to the offense again, spacing it out and moving the ball. Boom, you mentioned they are the best 3-point shooting team in the league, averaging 31.9% from 3-point land. And that is because they're one of the better teams in spacing it out and moving the ball around. If you want to do good ball movement, anybody can do that, but it won't work if you don't have good enough spacing. And that's what Ateneo has been consistent with. When they dip it in the post, they kick it out, they get good outside shots, and that's when you get good percentages from beyond the arc.
Oh, that's a mouthful, TJ.
That's a mouthful for me.
And we're all going to see that later on. Again, this is a team that is on an 11-game winning streak. They're going up against a team that is on an 8-game winning streak. They, at some point, were just struggling to get over 500 at 4-4, and they racked up all of those wins, including beating FEU twice to make it to the finals. Coach Norman Black was expected to be here in the finals from the very start, while Coach Lawrence Johnson and Paul Lee and the rest of the Red Warriors surprised everybody, defied expectations, and now they have a chance to end a 24-year title drought. Game number 1 is coming up in a few minutes here on Studio 23.
Ladies and gentlemen, this UAAP Championship game is now seen live on Studio 23, the Filipino channel, with replay on Ball Sky Cable Channel 34, and for the first time ever, in high definition on Sky Cable Channel 166. Good afternoon from the Mecca of sports and entertainment, the historic Araneta Coliseum in Cubao, Quezon City, for the much anticipated game number 1 of the best of 3 series in your season 72 UAAP Finals. These two teams are meeting in the finals for the first time since 1987. First, starting with the quintet, who bucked the odds by winning back-to-back games in the Final Four to enter the finals for the second time in 3 years. Here's the UE Red Warriors. At guard number 5, Paul Samar. Point guard number 14, Rafi Reyes. Center number 15, Pari Liagas. Shooting forward number 21, Val Acuna. And at power forward number 9,
Johnson, and simply welcome to the madness. All the finals of the 72nd season of the UAAP. The starters of the UE Red Warriors already announced, and you saw them. Rafi Reyes, Zamar, Paul Zamar, Pariliagas, Elmer Espiritu, and Val Acuna, as we now get into the introduction of the defending champions who are on an 11-game winning streak. Game 1, very important, TJ, just to throw out some numbers. The Game 1 winner has gone on to win the series 11 out of 15 times. That's 73% since the start of the Final Four format in 1994. Short series, TJ, highly important, game number 1.
Absolutely, you know, especially since you're talking about two teams who are on amazing winning runs. You got Ateneo on an 11-game winning streak and UE on an 8-game winning streak, and you don't want to lose that momentum. You don't want to have the heartbreaking loss to stop that run and stop that momentum. On the other hand, if you win, boy, are you going to keep that high. You're going to keep that morale going, and you're absolutely going to go for the kill in game number 2.
And UE, very familiar with not winning game number 1, and that kind of cost them in 2007, TJ. That was what everybody was talking about. If LaSalle won game number 1 in 2007, things will turn. And boy, did they turn for the worst for the UE Red Warriors, who will get first dibs here in game number 1. Welcome to it. This is live, this is exclusive, and it's available on high definition Sky Cable Channel 166 as Rafi Reyes gets it to go for the first triple of the ball game.
Nice little weave at the top of the key there to start things off for UE, who is starting without Paul Lee. And a little bit of confusion on the defensive matchups there, but Ateneo, as Rafi Reyes got a wide open look.
Paul Zamar is his 6th start only, DJ, in 17 games this